Hello guys, Joe Kim here from Game Audio Asia, and in this video we will be implementing our sound effects. So yeah, as you can see, there are no sound effects yet for the game, so let's get on it. So what we need to do is to create a game an empty game object. So let's call that sound effects player. Right on. Let's add a component, a new script, and call that to sound effects player. Boom, there you go. Okay, and then let's open that. Okay, on Visual Studio. We got Visual Studio. Now, essentially, what we want to do is we want to keep all our sound effects into this game object, into this script, so that it's so much better organized. Okay, so we don't need the start and the update for now. What we'll do is we will call, let's create an audio source, public audio source, and then let's call it my sound effects player. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add audio clips, and let's do this hit hit cube. uh yeah, let's just call it that for now. So we got that, so that's good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be creating a method. So let's do public void hit cube, hitting cube. Yeah. I want to say I'm not the greatest at naming stuff. So hitting cube, and then what we'll do here is we will go my sound effects player dot play. Okay, here's the method that we want to use is play one shot. Now essentially what this will allow you to do is it will allow you to add an audio clip here. Okay, so in the audio clip that we put here in the beginning of our script is hit cube, so we just write hit cube, and boom, there you go. Okay, now what you want to do in the beginning too, let's see, let's just do, let's see, private void start. We're gonna get the component, okay, get the audio source component. So my sound effects player equals get component, and then which component, what are you gonna get? It's the audio source and parentheses and that. So again, what we created in this sound effects player script is the audio source. Now we also created an audio clip, okay, and then we created a we're telling the script that in the start, to get the component audio source here, my sound effects player, and in this method, my sound effects player will play one shot the hit cube. Okay, I hope that is quite clear. We're just gonna test it out. So what we need here is to again populate our audio source and our audio clip. So for that we need to, yep, as you might have guessed, we need to create an audio source. Now for that, I already created a sounds folder here. Let's get back to here. Again, you can create your own sounds, download them, and so on, right? So what we'll do is we put the hit audio clip there, and then we put the audio source there in my sound effects player. We take the player away because we don't want that to happen as soon as we start the game. And let's see, let's just play from here, and then we'll get an error, but I want to show you what you're gonna get. Okay, so playing, nothing happened. Well, actually, we didn't get any errors, but what we need to do. Oh, okay. Oops. What we need to do is we need to point out. That was pretty dumb of me. We need to point out when will the method. Okay, let me open the. Okay. We need to point out in the game when we are going to call this method hitting cube. Okay, so let's go to the player game object, and that's going to happen in the player collision, because when the player collides one of the cubes, that's when the sound is going to trigger. So for that, we just pay attention to here, void on collision enter. What we need to do is we need to get a reference from our sound effects script. So for that, we type again public sound effects, and that's our script. Now we create, um, we create sound effects player for that. Okay, I'm not great at naming things. Yeah, but this will create a reference. Okay, so this variable, I guess a variable, this will create a reference for this sound effects player script. Okay, um, let's just, yeah, okay. All right. So what will happen is now the sound effects player has access to everything from what we created in the sound effects player script. I guess that's a little bit more clear. So what we need to do is when this happens with void on collision enter, we just go sound effects player and then that, and then it's going to appear the methods that we created for this script. So in this case, we mentioned, what was it? Hit collide or something? Hitting cube. There you go. Hitting cube. So that's the one we want. Okay, hitting cube. And then, okay, since that's a method, parentheses and semicolon. And essentially, when the cube collides when the player collides with one of the cubes, then the sound effects player is going to happen. This method is going to be called. So this play one shot hit cube. Okay, so let's save all of that. Now the last thing we need to do is, okay, since we, as you can see, since we called a reference for our sound effects player script here, what we need to do is we need to populate that with the game object. So boom, there you go. Let's see if that works, if there we have no problems. There you go. That's your sound. Let's try again. Yep. All right. So in the previous video, we created, let's save that. In the previous video, we created the music background. The reason why we're not listening to it, hearing it right now is because we're just playing it from, we're just creating our sound effects player from level 1. So what we need to do is go again to start game. And let's see, and then when we play the game, then the sound is going to carry over the music player, and then we'll also be able to hear our sound effects player. Great. So that is essentially creating a sound effects player in a game object. It's much more organized, putting all your sound effects into a game object like this. Because if you just put an audio source in every game object and that tends to get messy. Okay, so essentially what you need to do is figure out what other things is the player colliding with or passing through. So in this case, for instance, what I can think of is in the end, here in the end game object. Okay, let's see the mesh render. So here, once the player passes through the end game object, then you can trigger a sound too. So essentially you would do the same thing. You would first of all, well, this is the end trigger script. Now you would, in the sound effects player here, you would create another method, add another audio clip here, and essentially follow the same steps. And then in the end trigger script here when it says on trigger enter, also reference that sound effects player script, and yeah, or and then call that method here again. And essentially that's everything most likely you need to do and you need to know. In the next video I'll go ahead and do that just in case, but I guess that's maybe I didn't, if I'm not very clear, then yeah, I'll explain it in a separate video next time. But your homework for this your challenge for this week is to implement sounds, yeah, here, uh, you know, when the player crosses the end block here, have a sound trigger. Maybe when the player falls from the road here, have another trigger there. So in essence, all what I like to do is to keep all sounds here in the sound effects player. And that's a good practice. If you have any questions, write comments below in YouTube or in Instagram, and then I'll do my best to see uh, to see if I can figure it out. And let me know also if you like any of these mini short tutorial videos, if it helps out or not. I just do them for fun for the time being. So, anyways, yeah, this is Joe Kim from Game Audio Asia, and see you in the next video.